Welcome to Connected Payments with IXOPAY, where we talk to the payment providers powering global commerce. I'm Morgan Worrell here with Thomas Beinhart. Join us as we explore the integrations, trends, and tech shaping the future of payments. On today's episode, we're joined by Elaine Smith, Head of Partnerships at Volt. With over a decade in partnerships, including roles at DocuSign, Meta, and Checkout.com, Elaine is leading the charge to grow Volt's global ecosystem and expand real-time payments worldwide. It's nice to have you, Elaine. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Morgan. Great to be here.
For the listeners who might not know Volt yet, how would you describe what Volt does and what makes it stand out in the payment space?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks so much for having me. So, Volt is an open banking provider. We think of open banking really colloquially, like it could have many meanings to many people. So, account to account payments, instant payments, pay by bank, real time payments. There are lots of different words for ultimately the same thing, which is completing a payment on the instant payment rail. So, whether that's faster payments in the UK, SEPA Instant across Europe, the new payments platform in Australia, which is facilitated by Pay2. Globally, there's about 80 different RTP schemes, and that is Volt's mission. So our mission is to connect all 80 RTP schemes for our partners, for our merchants, for all of our users to make sure they have access to that. So we're live in just over 30 countries today and working closely to expand that year on year.
Elaine, speaking about merchants, what do you think merchants appreciate most working with Volt, and are there any special features or services that they really value with you?
Yeah. So obviously, I just mentioned we're in over 30 countries. So I think that coverage piece is one of the key differentiators for us in the market. We'll obviously go on to talk about Australia a little bit later, but that is really helping our proposition as we spread over to 30 countries. But when we peel that back and look more locally at the connectivity on the ground, so Volt has a product called Power Grid, which is building the bank connections to make sure that all of our merchants and partners have that connectivity to the banks. But we also work with TPPs or third-party providers within the industry who can also use, and we can leverage their connections as well to make sure that we have a real redundancy play or a failover play for our partners and merchants, which kind of sets us apart to make sure that they have the redundancy piece, but also enabling as much connectivity as possible. And then, of course, that adds to conversion, which is ultimately what every merchant wants to hear, right? How can we facilitate the best conversion? So in the whole payment ecosystem that we've built, whether that's the PIS, the AIS, we have our EMN license to issue bank accounts. We're building a complete and full end-to-end solution, which obviously echoes IXOPAY's mission, which is to facilitate the end-to-end payment optimization flow. That's exactly the same for us at Volt, which is why this is the perfect partnership.
What we can see here in Amsterdam is that the payment industry moves incredible fast. How does Volt help its merchants and partners to stay competitive and future-proof their businesses?
So I'm actually going to step away from Volt as a product and actually talk about the people. So from our point of view, we have a dedicated merchant success team who sits down with our partners, with our merchants to look at the data, to look at the checkout, to look at the conversion rates, to look at the uptime of banks, to make sure we have the best connectivity. I think the service that we provide that layers on top of the payment infrastructure that we've built does really, really set us apart. We've got those local understanding, those local nuances of how an IBAN can affect the conversion rate, how a country can change dependent on the time of year. There's so many things that we need to consider. And we have a really smart team at Volt that are working on that. But that as well, on top of the geographic reach, the product depth, as we're building into new regions, we're looking how we can improve our product, how we can build VRPs into it, how we can do one-click checkout in Australia. It's not just a case of where we are today, but it's working closely with our partners to see what is the next region that's important to them. What's the next product that's important? Is it direct debits? Is it an AIS blended flow? What do they need? And how can we build that to deliver it to our partners and merchants?
Great. Speaking about the partnership, I think Volt was one of the first open banking integrations we had on the IXOPAY platform. From your perspective, Elaine, what is the biggest win for merchants using that integration?
Yeah, I would agree actually. So it was before my time. I think it was 2021 that we partnered. So one of our first partnerships as well. And to echo my last point, our team are incredible. So are your team, Thomas. So I only started looking after our partnership in the last 6 months. But every time one of our joint merchants needed a call and needed to deep dive on something, your team have been incredible of jumping on those calls, being constantly available and making sure we have a joint solution, joint proposition, joint storyline. We'll have a catch up before we're going into those merchant meetings to make sure we have full alignment. And for me, that true partnership, that true coherence is everything that makes it a better experience for the merchant. So yeah, obviously the integration as we're expanding into Australia together, but just that cohesion of partnership, I think, is the most important thing for me personally.
Great to hear, to be honest. You just mentioned you're expanding to Australia, which is exciting. But what attracted Wolf to the Australian market, and how do you see it shaping Wolf's global ambitions?
Yeah, so from a Vault perspective, if we look at open banking generally in the UK and Europe, I think we can all agree there's lots of things that we can do and help to improve and change when we look at the banks. But Australia was so easy for us to move into as a market. It has the banks alignment, the fintech alignment, the government alignment, the regulation alignment. It is a true real time payments platform. It is fully instant. It's such a really strong platform from an advanced technology perspective. And it's allowed Volt, specifically with our strong tech and infrastructure as well, to layer upon that. So we've been able to build a one-click checkout. We've been able to build recurring payments. All of these added features is because that is such a strong basis of infrastructure in the first place. So yeah, for us, it makes complete sense. It was also driven by merchants. Obviously, we've got joint merchants that also want Australia. It's a core market for them. So we did our own market research of what's important to partners, what's important to merchants, and that will dictate the roadmap as we move forward as well. So as we move into new countries, as we move into new regions, whether that's more local in Europe, whether that's globally, it will be dictated by the people that we work with.
To close us out, what trends or shifts do you see defining the future of payments over the next few years? And how is Volt preparing for them?
The buzzword that I'm hearing everybody say at the moment is obviously stablecoins. So I need to just get that little tip, especially with the WorldPay BVNK news recently, Stripe acquiring Bridge earlier this year. I think it's definitely where we're seeing things move forward. But for me personally, my background, obviously before moving into payments, was in SaaS, as you mentioned, Morgan. Facebook was heavily focused on AI, AR, VR, and we were seeing the trends and how that was impacting technology day to day, even back then. It's only more recently I've seen that infiltrate into payments. So, where the payment infrastructure has already been built and it's really strong, we're now seeing the AI starting to get layered on top of that. And I think that's really going to be intrinsic in customer experience and how we can really influence the consumer journey. So from a Vault perspective, if we look at our AIS product, for example, we could do account verification. We can understand how much money account balance is somebody's account. How taking that data can we use AI to layer on top of it to get a personalized checkout? Is it going to be, oh, an upfront payment is X and your remaining is Y because we can see what's in the account? Do we get a better understanding of their spend? How are we taking the data, the information from an open finance perspective, and then how are we laying on AI on top of that to make a really succinct and tailored customer experience? So for me, it's definitely moving into that futuristic AI customer checkout piece.
Yeah.
And I think that will hit us sooner than we think. I think robots are taking over sooner than we think. Exactly. So yeah, I think there's lots of things to look at, but there's a couple of AI talks here over the next few days, which I'm definitely gonna turn up to and educate myself and learn more and understand how Vault can be part of that storyline.
Yeah.